Welcome to our live podcast series on the whole woman. I will explain more on that in a second. Just let me get my text sorted. So I am going to be doing a live chat today. I'm super excited on Instagram and on Facebook. And this is a series this week where I'm going to be interviewing amazing women about, or celebrating, if you will, the launch of the Whole Woman Way, which is actually a body of work that I have been deep diving on for about 4 years. And it's as a result of my personal journeying around womanhood and reclaiming, if you will, my wholeness. And it's all in celebration of next month, the launch of a beautiful container called Awaken Your Wholeness, which is a program, a 12-week program that I run online with some powerful women or women who are wanting to reclaim their power. But today we will be having a juicy conversation around the construct of what it means to be a woman and how many of us are cheating ourselves, if you will, of the experience of our wholeness and what even is wholeness. So if you are joining us now, thank you. And if you're watching this on replay, hi, through time and space. We're so grateful that you're here with us. My name is Marina. I am the founder of the School of Growth. I am a sovereignty and wholeness, a wholeness coach. And what that means is that I really help people remember who they truly were before conditioning, stories, rules, obligations stole from them their wholeness. And we are doing this live series of podcasts this week. Today is with the beautiful crew from the School of Growth, but the rest of the week is a couple of different powerful women who are, let's say, unconventional perhaps in the ways that they choose to live their lives for different reasons, but they are all powerhouses. They are lights. They are doing what is aligned for them in the world. And that is what happens when you come into your wholeness. When you come back to your wholeness, you come back to your power, not in the way that we misuse that term these days, but in your power as in your full life force is available to you, your capacity to know your truth, to stand in your truth, to live with ease and flow is readily available because you have not diminished or denied aspects of yourself to fit in ways that do not serve the greater collective. And this is perhaps one of the conversations I have most frequently around the idea of sovereignty and wholeness is people mistakenly think that it's selfish or that it's not for the greater good if we all just live in alignment with our truth. But I would beg to differ. And I would say that when we are all in the reclamation of our wholeness, we are actually truly serving the world from our fullest light. And that is actually all the world really needs of all of us. What I wanted to do is Caitlin and Steph, seeing as it's just the two of you from the coaching crew of the School of Growth, would you love to just introduce yourselves and what you currently love about being a woman today in your life?
Yeah. Well, my name's Caitlin Marie Eichperger, and I'll give like fucking free coaching to whoever can spell my last name without cheating. No. And so what I love about being a woman today is I think I just love the shift that's happening within, I guess, like womanhood at the moment where you get to just be everything. And I'm loving seeing women step into that. I'm loving stepping into it myself, and just the sisterhood that's, you know, coming out of that as well, like the real support. And yeah, it's just, yeah, I just love being a woman at the moment, to be honest.
It is a good time to be alive in many ways. Yes, I know some people would disagree with that statement, and I would agree with them in some other respects too. But with reference to what we're talking about and the journeying of the woman, I would agree with you, C. I think it's a really special time. And again, like everything, it also comes down to how you choose to view things, right? And Steph.
Hi. So everyone, my name is Steph Trees. Yes, legitimately Trees. That is such a great and juicy question. What I love about being a woman of today. So as Caitlin, and I'd like to piggyback off that, is it's the progress of our four sisters that have brought us to this point now. And I know it's not true in all parts of the world, but definitely where we are situated currently. When you look back at all the generations beforehand and what it meant for them versus what we get to do now, like simple things such as voting, and making that in the world and being able to have our freedom of choice over our bodies. my God, it is such a privilege and honor to be here at this point in time and to be a woman, and knowing that we get to have the power to even change that for our future generations. So I'm not a mother yet, but I know that the ladies are, and, you know, that's something you get to give to your children, who in fact are both women, girls, teenage girls, and also a girl.
Yes, and actually that is true. So Steph is currently not a mother. I am a mother of two girls, a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old. And Caitlin is a mother of a little Bubba who is 4 months? 5 months. She's 5 months. Yeah, she's adorable, Athena. So, you know, just as a really quick summation for me, what I will say is that the era that I grew up in my particular alchemy of belief structures, stories, and my family, or what I call systemic conditioning, because we all have conditioning, and it is important to remember that. I grew up to believe that women, or particularly my role as a successful woman in the world, was to be essentially like a man, and to grow up really strong and to be very dependable and capable and independent, and perhaps to not need a man, or very directly to not need a man was the exact words that would come out of my dad's mouth out of love. So I had some really amazing parents with very powerful messages, but that got filtered through my internal codes and conditioning to make me hyper independent, or as I like to say, I was particularly for a long part of my life very much a great representation of the overachieving, overthinking, and overgiving woman. So I was not great at receiving. I was not great at you know, taking on support. I was very much a lone wolf, taking care of everyone and everything, but it cost me a lot when it came to my health and to my experiences of fully expanding and softening into aspects of my femininity. And, you know, many moons ago, about 10 years ago now, I went through a divorce. My world came tumbling down, and in that unfolding, my awakening back to my wholeness really began. I'd already been, you know, a change work facilitator for thousands of people, but my personal journey, on a somatic level, emotional level, energetic level, and certainly on a mental level, really began then. So this is work that I'm very passionate about. And the question I wanted to ask you ladies is, have you had previously a belief about what you had to be as a woman, or did you grow up with a construct that you've since shifted away from, an awareness that actually that's not true? So the question, if I can make it kind of land in a nutshell, is, in the past or even in the present, have you been running a story of what it meant to be a woman that you now no longer agree with or want to subscribe to?
Steph, do you want to start?
Sure, why not? So this is a really great question, again. So one of the stories that I used to subscribe to was that I had to do it myself. It didn't even mean from another man. It meant from everyone. Like, you couldn't rely on anyone. And even though, like, I look at that and I go, man, it's built me into such an incredible, strong, independent person, I've also realized that it's also pushed a lot of amazing people away. And has, you know, there's always a double-edged sword, right? You know, it's pushed me away from having great relationships. It's pushed me away from having a really good connection with my biological father. It's pushed me away from a couple of other things. So now when I look into it and I go, holy moly, with this awareness and all these, again, internal codes and meaning of the messages we get taught when we were younger, you kind of go, is this really something I want to subscribe to, or is it something that I get to change now? Yeah. So, yeah, that would be me in a nutshell. How about you, Caitlin?
So, I 100% resonate with the lone wolf, with the I'll do it myself, don't need no, man, partner, don't need anyone, you can just F right off. But I actually, because you guys have spoken into that, I figure I'll speak into something that's actually really alive for me right now, and that is the martyr complex. And it's come up real strong for me right now because I have stepped into mamahood. It's been something, just as Marina said, it's this full systemic, belief code that's been passed down through the generations in my family. And I've run it for a long time before, but it's just kind of popped back up again since stepping into mamahood, because it's kind of like this belief that like I have to be there for everyone, I have to keep everyone happy, I have to like, you know, even to the point where like previously I was like, I have to be a version of myself that's going to keep everyone happy, not actually be true to myself. So like it just showed up in so many different ways where it was all about sacrificing and playing, like falling into that victimhood of like, poor me, because I'm doing everything for everyone else.
Yeah.
And then realizing like, I'm choosing to do that. Like,
Something you need to know about Caitlin is she swears more than anyone I know. So if you're offended by swearing, Caitlin's already
yeah,
offended
I
you.
apologize.
But also, you don't have to apologize, right? Then that's kind of the perfect example is this idea that, you know, I'm super passionate about these very limited ideas that we have of every human, but particularly today's conversation is around womanhood. You know, does being someone who uses this particular word, the F word, make you something that then is not appealing or approved of by anyone else in society? And at what point do we just go, well, that's who I am, so be it, so be with it? And if you cannot, then that is actually your work to do, your judgment to overcome, right? Like this is the whole journey, the perfect journey. And I love what you mentioned there about martyrdom, because martyrdom is really it's like the queen of the victim, isn't it? It really is the queen victim, because it's like, look at me, I'll carry it, I'll load myself, I'll do it. But the energy behind it is this well, it's kind of trauma-induced survival codes, right? But on a more surface level, it's a bit of bitterness, resentment, potentially even superiority, but all stemming from this desire to feel safe. So, you know, if I'm in
like
control,
need to be in control.
Yeah, if I'm in control, if I'm doing everything for everyone, there's an energy of safety there, because I'm not depending, I'm not vulnerable, I'm not open to you caring enough for me to keep me safe. I'm not open, I don't have to be sure that you can do what you're doing. I can hold that power, but in holding it so tightly, we actually are not in our power to be in collaboration and connection with the world. And one of the, I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but seeing as we have very similar stories in our own nuanced way around this independence and powerful womaning, that it was a real aha for me that as much as I like to give, if I don't receive, I'm actually stealing the ability or the gift of giving from someone else. Like the reciprocity of it didn't land for me until really late in, you know, I was a slow learner there. I was like, oh, give. And someone would try to give to me and I'd just like, twang, you know, push it back. And then I was like, oh, so imagine if, and you know, if you're listening and you're a giver, imagine for a second if when you genuinely want to give someone something, a compliment, heartfelt, or you really want to give someone a gift, or just, and they were just like, no. You know, I have really strong memories of my grandma never opening a present in front of others, because she didn't want to be, I actually don't know what her issue was around not wanting to open it, but I think it was, what if she didn't like it, or would she have to express gratitude? I'm not sure, but I distinctly remember she would always not receive the gifts publicly. They would be put away and she would open them privately. So now I love receiving, and when people have gifts for me, I'm like, oh, good, can I open it now? You know, I'm so excited to open it. And you know, because I have two girls, I've really taken the time, and you guys know my children, and they do not have any problems receiving compliments. In fact, they all just make more
they
up
compliment
themselves
Bob
and take other people's, and it's beautiful though, because receiving is the reciprocity, or the dance, if you will, for the giver as well. Like we can be just givers, but if we're just givers, we're not dancing with anyone. We're holding a wall and we're pushing out, and
we're blocking the flow of the giving and receiving.
Totally. So I suppose a question that I would love us to dive into is, what do you do as in an action that allows you to be in the beingness of your wholeness? So you guys are, you know, I know you've done so much growth work, and I'm excited to have a conversation with such evolved souls on this. But for people listening who are like, okay, well, I know I've probably got conditioning, and I definitely do diminish and distort and disown parts of myself, but how do I even journey towards wholeness? Like, what does it look like for you to, on a daily basis, what can you do? I'm going to keep saying doing, because I know people love tangibles and takeaways. what does it look like for you around embodying wholeness on a regular, ongoing, everyday level?
Can I go first?
Yeah, go for it.
I love it. I love this question. It's what do you get to do for you? And coming back to that martyrdom and like listen to that language. What are you doing for you? So one of the first coaches I ever had actually told me or suggested, how about just time blocking 1 hour every day? And he said, don't tell yourself what you're going to do. Don't make a plan. Just time block an hour in the day. And in time, you just get to be real present and you decide there and then what you want to do. So whether that was go for a walk, whether that was listen to music, have a little dance, it was reading a book, watch a movie. He said, try to leave an element of surprise in your day to serve you. I mean, like some people might not have an hour to spend, but again, you are the most valuable person. Like you cannot keep serving others if you don't serve you for at least one little minuscule point of your day. So even if you just want to start with 15 minutes, how you serve you. And I can't honestly say that there's like, any one thing I do every day. I'm going to say it's a multitude of things. I move my body, I journal, I do some breath work every now and again. I'll read the book. It's a list of things. So if you haven't already, make a menu of the things. And I got this from Caitlin because I saw it once in her. She has a menu of things that she likes to do. And, and go, what, I'm going to serve me some of that today. So that was really cool and something she did a couple of years ago. Don't know if it's still relevant now because your life has changed. So anyway, I'll let you go, Caitlin.
Yeah, I love that. And yes, I still have a self-love menu, but I refer to it now as self-care. And anyway, back to the question. So I think, to be honest, like something, and this is going to sound super simple. And so like, I understand it sounds super simple, but it's actually, to me, it was kind of like the thing that helped me build awareness. And something that I still practice on a daily basis is something just as simple as presence. Like just being super present with my daughter, just being super present with my partner, being super present with myself, like making sure that I'm not distracting myself all the time so that I can be present with what's in my body, so that I can be present with the thoughts that are coming up, the stories. And I think as well, like the reason that presence is so big for me is like that presence is what's helped, like I've built the muscle of presence, which has helped me build the muscle of awareness. And so it used to be that I had to journal every day to bring my awareness to, the things that came up. But now it's like, I guess the muscle's there. And so I'm like, I have a lot better awareness. I don't necessarily need to sit down every day and journal to be like, oh, this popped up for me. And so I'm a lot better at catching things, and I'm a lot better at noticing when I have resistance to a part of me, or when, like, for example, you get that feeling in your body, like that tension in the stomach or the closing of the chest or the throat. And it's like, oh, okay, like my throat's closing. There's something I want to say, but I'm not saying. So I get to like be present with that. So I think presence is just the biggest thing for me. And that means no screens. That means like, like eye contact when I'm talking to someone, and like just really being there. But it can also be something like meditation. It can be the whole, like, sitting outside and just noticing what you see, smell, hear, taste, like all that kind of stuff.
Yes. In fact, something that I feel is actually a through line in both of your offerings there. And it's funny, Steph, because that's actually one of the activities that I often give to women initially is the practice of being in nothingness, no thingness. And what happens in the presence of no thingness, so here's my time where I don't have something pre-scheduled and I don't have to be productive, is that you can drop into presence, as Caitlin's just said, and drop into the sensation of your body for the purpose of, and this is really the key to it, being able to be attuned to your needs in any moment. And if we get into the art of having to carve out time initially to do that, which seems mechanical, but everything is a muscle and all skills and habits are built through repetition and time. So initially it looks like, oh, I've got this time. What do I even want to do? Asking that question for some people is truly profound, because we're automated on the, you know, what's that hamster wheel analogy, daily, daily, daily. We never actually pause to be present, to go, what do I actually want, desire, need, which is the art of being present with self, which is true attunement and awareness, which begins the journey for sure of being able to step into wholeness. Because if I am safe with myself and everything that arises in that stillness, which is, let's be honest, another reason a lot of people do not like to slow down, do not want to have no thing to do, because what the hell might meet me there? All the things I've disowned, distorted, pushed down, suppressed, repressed, pretended didn't happen, things that I don't want to look at, you know, stories and feelings that I haven't felt, where we're terrified often to actually be with ourselves because we do it so infrequently. And we've really kind of, we've disowned so much of ourselves that when it comes knocking on the door, looking to be held and to be seen and to be witnessed, it can initially feel overwhelming. So if initially it's just asking yourself, what do I want to do right now? But I do encourage you, through the offerings that both women have made here, is there is power in bringing presence to just you, your needs, your sensations, and that journeying inwards, you know, and we all know this, initially it can be overwhelming. Initially it can feel like a lot, but it's like anything. It's like once you start pulling the clothes out of the closet, at some point you're going to come into this wonderful spaciousness, you know, you're going to come into this wonderful, you know, room and new potentiality because you've allowed the flow. And it comes back to that, right? It's this flow. And presence, I agree, is super, super important. And the ways, all the suggestions you've given there, but I'm just trying to give the meta of why that's valuable. And you guys delivered that so perfectly. Now there's been some beautiful comments. I've been trying to read them. But
I was going to say, Kylie just commented saying about some of the things that she does, which is really beautiful, about like, you know, connecting to herself and giving herself time for her, which is awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and I think the thing is for everyone, it's really, and for me, and particularly what we teach inside of the steps of wholeness, is and you guys know this, it's about the expansion. It's about the expansion of the capacity. So for some of us, that's going to look like really journeying into the body and being with the body and really reconnecting with our somatics, our skin suit. Whereas for others, it will be, you know, moving into the energetics and just feeling and letting emotions flow even consciously, and, you know, not so much physically. Like some of us escape into our bodies and we don't want to deal with the story or the mind, we run from it. But others, we escape into the mind and we don't want to feel or be present into the body. So it's always a different journey. But if we can expand our container of our wholeness, where we feel safe to play, to express, then we are truly free. And in that freedom and liberation sits our power. Because if I'm no longer afraid of you disapproving of me, or if I no longer am afraid of that part or aspect of me, well, fear unfolded is just love, right? And it's life force. So it's one of these things that if people are like, well, why do I need to be in my wholeness? It's like, because that's what you're here to be, in your wholeness.
Well, and it's just so like, it's just this complete freedom. Like, I can't even like, like it's just this complete freedom, because, you know, like you said, you no longer need to hold back parts of yourself or like, you know, be anything other than just you, like your true self.
So Joe has just said, allowing what is, to allow my fullest expression of emotions. So let's detail that. And if you're on the chat, join us. What does the word being in my wholeness or being whole mean to you? So Caitlin, you said, would there be anything else you would add to that?
Well, so being in my wholeness to me is like, the way that I see it is like we have many different faces, if you want to call them, or parts to us, as you refer to them, right? We have so many different parts. And so being in my wholeness is dancing with whatever part is there, and like choosing what part I want to show up as consciously, when I like, as much as possible, but also being okay with all of those parts and not like reintegrating them, welcoming them all back. And this is probably very similar to what you teach, because I've learned this from you. You know, you're like my mentor and the person that I've learned all of this amazing stuff from. And so, yeah, so to me, being in my wholeness is just being with all parts of me and accepting all parts of me and just dancing with all parts of me and letting them all, all different parts of me come up. Like, it sounds simple, but that's it.
It's one of those things, right? It's simple, but not always easy, because we are, as so many of the juiciest things are, it's simple. Just be all of yourself, welcome all of your parts, dance with your isness, right? And yet we have been raised, and it's okay to acknowledge that we have been raised in a world and that we have inner codes running that out of love have encouraged us to slice off, disown, and fragment ourselves, to mistakenly believe that that will get us more safety and more love. But of course, if we disown our parts, we're missing the love that we really need, which is internal and only innately created, and of course is intrinsic, but it's a game we play with ourselves, to be clear. And yet we collectively all agree to do it. And there becomes harder to free yourself from that pattern. So what does wholeness mean to you, beauty? And guys, feel free to comment what you believe wholeness is. There's no right or wrong answer here.
This is such a great one because I'm a Gemini. So I've been told I've been split for a very long time. A very long time. Now, the way that I view wholeness is bringing together the walking contradictions that we are and being everything all at once cohesively. So, for instance, bringing the masculine side of what you do to the feminine side of who you are. And it's funny because both genders have this, right? So, it's being the creator and the doer. It's being your physical, your emotional, and spiritual. And please, spiritual can be anything you want it to mean all together. And no one part of that has more effect than the other. They're just all working in a synergy to be the expressive version of who you want to be and who you are. So whatever that looks like for you. And I know what that looks like for me.
Yes, and it's a constantly evolving journey too, and it's great to have Caitlin on here, who's just done that initiation from maiden into mother, because it's interesting as we grow up, and I write about this in the book. There are the three ways that we create our conditioning or our codes, right? So we can do it systemically through our family, and a lot of that is actually inherited in birth. It's not necessarily, it is your family of origin and your first 7 years, but it's also pre that. You come from a generation of people that survived many, many things, and that's been encoded and entrusted for your survival moving forward. Then we move into society. So we definitely get conditioned by our collective as a society, schools, churches, sporting groups, social media, etc. And then we code through the self. Who do I want to be? What does my ego say I need to be in this lifetime? So these are the three ways, the three S's. And in that, we're still journeying in life, and we're still dealing with new nuances all the time. And so we're constantly adding, what tends to happen when we're not conscious to this work is we just layer more rules on as we step into new arenas. And you can imagine if I'm playing the rules of basketball and then I add in the layer of soccer, which is one is you can't use your hands and the other is you can't use your feet. Over time, my rules have really restricted my capacity to be anything freely. And if we are conscious that in this realm, I have these rules, and are these rules really serving me? And do I really want to subscribe and contract myself to these rules? If we can be more conscious in that conditioning, knowing that it's there, knowing that we're doing it, then we suddenly have this power and this potential to rewrite them in a way that makes us or allows us to feel what we want to feel and express and be in life as we want to. So, motherhood is, and Caitlin and I have talked about this, and obviously she's a lot younger and is doing early motherhood, many years after I did it. But it's like a cesspot of everyone's rules coming in and saying how it needs to look. And being in your wholeness, it's very real for you. Breathe through it. But for me, it was like the nipple Nazi, the nappy Nazi, the everybody kind of saying how it needs to look and what you need to do. And, oh, you've gone back to work already. And, and the judgment, the shame, and the blame about not doing it right. But that's by the rightness of their rules. And so they are wronging themselves and also us in the sharing of that. And can we as a society move to a place where it's like, well, this is how I've consciously chosen these rules. I've had to shed my mother's beliefs about this. I've had to shed my auntie's beliefs, and I'm not going to take yours on because these ones feel right for me. It's that dance. I think I got a little off track there, but the point is that wholeness is an evolving. That was the point. Constantly evolving journey. And so in every month or every season of every year, it's like, where am I now? It truly is an attuning. And in this last year, I definitely learned that for myself. There were certain things that got me through, or that I was really expanding and exploding into willingly, that suddenly, and I don't know if you can relate to this if you're listening, it's like, that doesn't light me up anymore. Chasing that or doing that doesn't light me up anymore. And instead of suddenly losing ourselves in that, go, so what lights me up now? What do I get to dance with now? What do I get to move into now? So I have a question for the two of you, and I know as, you know, human potential coaches, certified transformational geniuses, I'm curious what you would suggest to anyone, but particularly women today, who are feeling stuck and small in their life right now. Like, what would be your advice or your words of wisdom for them? Yeah, around where to go from there.
I think, well, like, there's the obvious one, which is go invest in yourself, invest in your growth. So, like, whether it's seeing a coach or doing workshops or whatever. But, like, aside from that, like, if I was to just be, like, give you something that's tangible that you could do, like, right now, for me, like, again, it would just be like, go and connect with yourself in whatever way feels good for you. Like, if it's 5 minutes, and like, I used to be the kind of person who was like, you know, go dedicate an hour of your day. And now I understand why 5 minutes is sometimes all you have. And so, like, if it's 5 minutes, like, if it's an hour, it doesn't matter. Go and spend some time connecting with yourself and getting clear on who you want to be, but also the life that you want, and what's the gap. Like, what's the gap between who you want to be, the life you want, and where you are now? Like, just get clear on that, because until you actually know who you are or who you want to be and what you want from life, you can't start moving towards it. Like, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. So bringing awareness and consciousness. Yeah, that's awesome. To what you want. I love that.
So mine's a little piggyback off that as well. The question is, ask yourself why. Why do you feel stuck and small? Like, something that Marina did mention earlier was something about your ego. And sometimes our ego can talk and say, well, we want more and we need to be doing more. So ask yourself why, because the thing is, you might think you might want that, but saying we want that because to compare to something. So again, it's getting to be present and come back to self and actually ask yourself, well, why? And is it true that I really want that? And making sure you get rid of all that conditioning and beliefs around it just because someone else may have told you so. So that's step number one. Step number two, if you've really sat with it and you know that's the life you want. So there was something that Marina used to do back when the world was open, and that was go to Bali. And she used to run retreats. And I'm like, fuck, that's the dream. I just swore, my bad, I'm sorry. And I'm like, that's the dream. Could you imagine going overseas, taking a bunch of people, going to eat at your favorite restaurants, go see your favorite places? Like, she's just lit up like me talking about that. And I'm like, how do I do that?
Yeah.
Give a little bit of a barrier right now to go overseas. Yes, a little bit of a barrier, but I don't believe that it's going to be like that forever. It also means I get to do some work to get to that. But my actual suggestion is go hang out with the people that are doing what you want to do. Like, you become the product of the 5 people you spend your time with. So if they are not growing and supporting the person that you want to be, you need to change your inner circle of friends. You need to hang out and get you to where you want to be. So go have a chat with the women or people that are living your dream life and just spend time with them, because you'll learn their strategies and you get to adopt that and see if it works for you, or you get to change it. And then I guess it's also talk with an amazing coach, like, because you're also not in the thick of it. They can see it, step back, and they can provide other perspectives that may not actually be in your frame of mind. So there's also that too.
Yeah,
So
100%. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Ben's also just given a suggestion of gratitude.
Yes. There's so much I want to just add to what you have just said, and I love how just alive you guys come when you start sharing truth. It's like It's such a ripple. Like I can feel it now in my too. I just wanted to comment on what a few people had said wholeness meant to them. So Crystal had said that grounding myself when I notice I am floating thinking in the clouds of my mind. So pull it for her, coming down and into the present, into this dimension is helpful. And then inner goddess wisdom is saying feeling into the flow state, connecting to my inner self, higher self, and feeling of belonging and within. Yes. Oh, such juicy descriptions there, ladies. Yes, and then Ben has said, discerning between wants versus why. And then what I loved about what you guys both shared there, when we are feeling stuck and small, it's important to remember that is not your natural state. But yet, and this is where we often hear the thing normal, and I really encourage you to just actually stop using that word, because we are all bio-individual. We are all completely unique, multifaceted, walking contradictions. Just literally F the concept of normal and tune to yourself. And this is particularly, and I speak to this because as someone who has done the depth, breadth, and length of growth work that I have done, what I would love you to know, whether you're starting this journey or whether you are a seasoned pro. I had a male friend in Bali actually who used to say it like this. I didn't quite like the energy of it, but I loved what he meant by it. He said that every level there's another devil, right? And so what I want you to know is that attunement is an ever evolving, constantly expanding concept. And it is something that as you work with it and journey with it, you will become more and more like finitely attuned. And the way I like to describe it now is I'm constantly attuning to any level of dissatisfaction. And that might sound really selfish and a little bit like self-indulgent, but I have created consciously, like you said, Steph, I was like, you know what sounds really fun to me? Running retreats where I take people on the holidays I like to have. Can I make that a business? I mean, that's what I'm good at, making businesses out of joyful experiences, sharing bliss. Done that for a long time, 20 years, never worked for anyone after I left university. So that's my skill set. So then I go about doing it and creating it. And so my life now is, I'm not feeling fully alive and lit. That's like a grain in my shoe. Does that make sense? For someone else, it's like, shit, Marina, you don't work 9 to 5. You have time off when you want it. Stop complaining, bitch, right? And to that, I would say, my normal is not your normal, and I refuse to be measured by it. I will not measure my life by mediocrity, and I do not encourage anyone to do that. So as you journey, the nuances that I'm exploring in my life right now, for some people would be like, oh, privileged white woman, first world problems, check yourself. And I will check myself, because my only job right here in this world, as I believe any one of ours is for me to own, claim, and expand into even more, even greater levels of bliss, joy, and expansion, so that I can be of the highest level of service to anyone who is in resonance with me. That's it. So no matter the level of work you've done, and don't get me wrong, you guys know this, I coach people who are brand new all the time, and I love it because they're stepping into the world and little, like big chunks, big boulders are just moving when you're at that level. But even when you move higher, as Steph said, it's like, and Caitlin, and so to wrap this up, my point is, it's like, if I'm feeling small or stuck, inquire. Curiosity is the super. Inquire. What is alive within me? What is my soul calling for me to look at? That resistance is not a brokenness. It is your soul saying, look here now, journey with me, because you are not meant to be at this level. You are not meant to be here. This is not your birthright. We are meant for more, worthy, innately, and always for more. So get curious. And then, as Steph said, why do I even want it? Am I creating a story of dissatisfaction because I grew up in a family where we weren't allowed to be satisfied? Because that happens, or am I creating a story of dissatisfaction because actually that's the rocket fuel that I use to be more productive, because I think if I'm productive in the world, I'm worthy of more love. Like, the ways in which we entrap ourselves are so simple and yet complex all at once, right? And the coaches on the call, I know you feel me, because we work with people and we see it. It's beautiful. It's all beautiful. And yet we can move out of that matrix. And when we do, it becomes the finer detail, but it's still an ongoing journey. And the resistance is kind of much less gritty, but you still feel it. So wherever you are in your journey, just know that resistance is calling you into inquiry. And then the question is, from this stickiness, what do I want to liberate into? Because that vision is going to start to chart the course, both mentally and physically. Once you've envisioned it, you have ignited your soul towards it already. So awareness is the key. It is the first step. And of course, as the girls have suggested, I mean, we're all coaches. We're going to recommend coaches. But the irony is we're not saying coach with us. We also all coach with other people. We believe in this work so much. You know, I'm writing a book about this, but we're humans and we're not given the handbook of humanness, which we should be, because we are the most magnificent machine. You know, we're a universal, high-functioning orbit of creatrixing. And when we learn to master that, it becomes a whole different game. It's very joy-filled.
I just wanted to speak into something that came up when you were sharing before. And I just wanted to point out that you were talking about how your job is to expand into more for you, right? And then I just want to point out the ripple that that's had. Like, first of all, you've got two women here who have experienced that ripple. But also, do you notice that Steph was like, you know what, if Marina can do that, fuck, I want to do that. Like I would love to do that. Marina's doing it, so I know it's possible. So like you expanding into your more was permission for Steph to also expand into hers and to also aspire to her dream, her version of, you know, what she wants to do. And it's proof that it's possible. So like, I just want to speak into that, like, it ripples, like me doing my work will ripple outwards.
I'm just going to really receive that, because thank you. Yeah, that's thank you for doing that publicly here, but also, you know, that's actually one of your greatest skills, is your ability to really mirror and show someone something they hadn't seen. And we talk about permission slips, right? We talk about being a permission slip. And when you claim your power and you say yes to life, you are showing other people through your light brightening that it's possible to brighten their own. So I agree with that. And you are an expert in inner critic work and comparisonitis. And this is the upside of looking outward at other people, isn't it? You know, like the inspiration, because if you think about it, if I come to the world with a map, and we all do, and I come to it in my family, and my family says, you got to work 9 to 5, you got to work hard, you got to get the house, you got to stay married, don't look left, right, or center, and then work hard and then die. Like, say that's my map, and I may not even consciously know that's my map, but that's what I'm doing, and I'm honoring those codes, and I'm being a good girl or a good boy. And then over here, there's someone who had a whole different experience, or went into growth work and just kind of expanded their map out, and they're like, well, maybe it gets to look like this, and maybe it gets to look like that, and maybe I get to be this version, and suddenly this person looking outward into someone else's, which we often are told not to do, is a way of saying, oh, wow, whole reality I had never envisaged. I don't even know if I said the word correctly just then, but until I saw it, you know, because if you're not someone who's incredibly creative at bringing up new, never, you know, innovative ideas, then where else would you find it but the people around you, which is where Steph's recommendation about auditing, if you will, who you spend time with, and if there are people who are like, it's not possible, stop questioning, you know, then that's going to constrict your world in. So yeah, it's a thank you for the reflection. I receive it. And also just a great reminder to all of us that there is value in being inspired and looking outward, and then taking that inward, really fanning that flame within yourself. That's showing you, and we talk about this all the time, your desires and your dreams are not random, right? They're not random. Things that you see that excite you are your soul going, yes, yes, yes. We didn't know before, but that's something for us. We want that. We like that. We're called forward by that. So
I have a baby awake, so I'm going to have to jump off or go grab her.
Yeah, we'll grab her and jump off if you need. The last question I was going to ask, if you're going now, see, do you think, or do you want to pick?
Why don't you ask the question? Steph can answer, and I'll grab Bub.
The last question is really for women. What do you think we're moving forward into, or what do you think is our next frontier of wholeness as a collective? What would you like to see? What are you concerned that is we're currently being distracted by, or like just the future of this concept of woman? What do you think we're moving toward, or that we need to maybe not be distracted by? What would you call us forward to as a collective?
So I actually feel like with the work that our four sisters have done, progress like just going out there and making the progress towards it. So, you know, having women step into those power roles and, you know, whether they're leading a corporation or they're the CEO of their own business or whether they're leading a nation, you know, I'd love to see more and more of it, you know. There's this quote that I love from Jurassic Park. It's one of my favorite movies. And it's like, dinosaurs eat man, women inherit the earth. Like, it was probably so subtly missed, but it's hilarious. It makes me laugh every time. I'm like, well, what if women inherited the earth? And how would we use that? And this is it. There is a bunch of women out there looking for more permission slips so that they can step into it. So don't be afraid of your own power. I think we're all progressively moving towards it. It's just that we're waiting, we're looking to dip the toe into the water and eventually diving on in. And it's happening. I can feel it. It's, you know, we're more and more getting there, but oh my goodness. I feel
yes,
like
Ben, sorry.
I'm
Did
so
you
sorry.
see Ben's comment? Chris, did you just see Ben's comment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's named after a dinosaur. Love it.
Always with the signs, Ben.
Love that. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Maybe just giving me messages to give you. Buy the dinosaur car. Buy the dinosaur car. Yeah.
I love that. I love that, Steph. I love that. You know, what is leadership? What does leadership look like? And I think that's a conversation that women get to, you know, and with the support of men. And just to be clear, even though, you know, I'm a deep dive into wholeness of women as a relationship coach and someone who one-on-one coaches men as well. There is much work to be done around manhood and what that looks like. And we need our brothers and we need to not be in a fight against them. Women claiming their wholeness in no way diminishes the men on this planet or those who identify as anything beyond the, you know, the classic or most, you know, revered two genders. So notwithstanding that, it really is about coming into your fullest expression. But leadership for women does need to be explored because inside of particularly the Awaken Your Wholeness program, I break down these 3 elemental powers. And one of them is this energy of the queen, right? And for me growing up, I was very what I would call shadow queen. So yes, being controlled, being powerful, being a leader, but in a very masculine, dictatorial way. And the more control I had, the better I felt. And so learning through the steps that I've created and the processes that I've moved through myself and guided other women through, moving into this empowering the collective and working collaboratively and creating with much less effort on my part, but much more richness. And that's kind of moving from the queen shadow into the queen light. But knowing that if I ever need to really make a demand and make a claim, then that shadow energy is always available to me. But it's not where I want to live for the fullness of the leadership. But I think the conversation of leadership is something that we really get to explore, and it doesn't have to look the way that we perhaps were raised to think leaders looked. Yeah. Good night. Okay, and then what do you foresee coming, or what would you like to see us not be distracted by, or what do you think the next frontier is? The future.
Oh God.
It's a small question.
Well, yeah, like it's such a big question because like there's so much going on in the world right now, right? Like so much. And so it's like, what do we not be distracted by? Whew. Well, I think a big thing amongst women in particular is like, let's not be distracted by ineffective comparisonitis. Like where it's trying to pull women who are doing well down, like screw that. Almost dropped an F-bomb. Really proud of myself. I caught myself. But like, screw that. It's about like if I raise up, like you get to raise up too, rather than try and pull me down because me being in my power triggers you. Like, or I don't know, like I think that that's a big thing that gets to shift in womanhood is this comparisonitis and this like trying to tear people down or like make people wrong. And Yeah, I am actually huge on like comparison is not evil. A lot of people have this view of comparison being evil, but just like Em was saying before, it can be super effective. You can, you know, use someone's success to be inspiration, to show you what's available to you. So let's do that. Let's raise each other up rather than tear each other down, and
Yeah.
constantly look at all the ways that we're like different. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. And I think what that really points to is what we keep circling back around to is that this is all an inner journey. You know, if you are
Mm.
someone else, it is, you know, and you know, I love the irony that I always say to you guys, I'm just going to cancel culture, because that is actually hilarious to say. But this cancel culture we're really in at the minute, I'm really over it, because what it is
Mm.
showing, where we have not yet done our work, you know, where
Mm.
we have not yet done our work, and where who you want to be makes me feel insecure and unsafe, should, in my opinion and my belief, really only point to where there is still work for me to find safety in my nervous system, safety
Yeah.
in my business, and safety in my worth. And instead, what we tend to do is this projection, and as you say, wanting to either pull people down or wrong them or quote unquote cancel them.
Yeah.
And you know, and instead of calling each other forward and saying, hey, I think there's something for you to look at, it has been, particularly of late, this banding together all the people who want to cancel in that way. And it's become, we see it mostly in online, but this bullying, and this
There's no compassion.
no, yeah,
And it's not open. It's not coming from a place of openness. It's coming from a place of like I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you. Like it's just not open at all.
And I love what Crystal, so Paloma, Wild with Patchouli there, has said everything outside of ourselves. So really, and then Crystal's backed up onto that and said the question really made her think of the importance of being discerning with what our external inputs are. So books, programs, movies, people. And I couldn't agree with her more. And I talk about this often. You know, mainstream media is a form of brainwashing, and what we get to remember is that we have the power to completely shift what we're washing our brains in by what we choose. Where we place
and not
our
just social media, also songs, like everything that you
podcasts,
like surround yourself with.
Yeah. And then Joe just said, cancel culture removes the ability for growth. Instead of showing up imperfectly, yes, people aren't showing up at all. There's so much what you just said there, Joe, in your comment. No space for vulnerability. I agree. We're shaming, blaming, and shutting people down when they show up. And there's no, you know, growth work requires that we fail and then rise and fail and rise and fail and rise. And that imperfection, find our way. I agree. Such a juicy conversation today. I think we lost Steph, ironically. The mom stayed on and Steph disappeared. That's okay. Thank you so much, Steph and C. And I know Abby would have been a wonderful addition today, but I will track her down and we'll do a different live. Guys, if you've enjoyed the live today, let us know. And we have more lives coming tomorrow with Devashi Shakti, who is the founder of Yoga, the only female created yoga. She is the OG of feminine embodiment, a truly sublime being. I'm really stoked to talk to her tomorrow. Then we have Michelle Wilson Thursday, and we have Kira Love on Friday. I have posted the times. So joining us live is great. You can ask questions. You can join in and contribute as you guys have beautifully done today. Yes, Paloma, self-responsibility is indeed a superpower. Being authentically accountable is the key. Such a beautiful conversation. And if you are enjoying these conversations, let me know. If you would like more information on what it means to walk the way of the whole woman, or particularly around the Awakening Your Wholeness course, which I am opening for application very soon and starts next month, DM me and I will give you links, and we have early bird specials and all the things. But for right now today, I just want to salute you beautiful women for joining me, journeying today, and for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Have a stellar day. Remember that you are magical, worthy, and full of light.